Welcome to the Mentor Studio, where today's thought leaders and leading entrepreneurs inspire and bring real-world ideas that help you take your career to levels you've only dreamed of. Now buckle in. Here's your host, Michael Silvers.
And Sys Savanh, creator of 7 Figures Expert.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, John.
Now, I want to dig into the 7 Expert side of things, but I happen to know that wasn't the first thing you did. So I want to get to the journey. I want to know where it began and how you came to create this 7 Figures Expert. So can you take us back a little bit?
Yeah. One of the things I realized is a pattern. In order for you to create new patterns, you got to recognize old patterns, right? Recognize patterns, then you basically understand them, then you create new patterns, right? Brand utilization. And as a done-for-you agency, when I was actually building sales funnels, I found myself coaching business owners because a lot of times they would come in and they'd want a funnel build, right? And we would find out that they didn't know a lot of times their offer, they didn't know who their ideal client was, they didn't know their copy, they didn't know pretty much anything. They didn't even know how to take their clients through a buying journey, right? So as we were building, we're like, well, you got to know these things. So I started basically crossing the line and coaching them, adding a coaching service to it, to my done-for-you agency. Very successful. We were doing well over north of, $1.5 million every single year, clockwork for about 5.5 years. And then I said, well, gosh, this is a continuous pattern I keep seeing. Why don't I teach this, right? If they don't know, why don't I teach it? Because I was actually charging for it. So not only was I charging for building their funnel, I started charging them for the coaching, which is amazing. But I realized I wasn't making enough impact because we were acquiring about 200 clients or so on an average every year. If I realized that this is a pattern that most business owners are actually that I see, that means if most business owners continue down this path, that's why most businesses are running failing businesses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I said, man, how can I be in a room to impact more people, thousands of lives instead of a couple hundred people a year, you know what I mean? So that's basically how it started.
How did you get into the whole funnel world? How did you start doing that?
Yeah. The cool part is myself, right? You solve your own problems, right? That's the best business you can actually be in. When I went online 5.5 years ago, so I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years, right? Offline mainly, right? Did everything.
So what was your first business?
My first business was a sales and marketing company. So I was actually training salespeople to go business to business, door to door, do outside sales. And we were getting contracts for large brands like AT&T, ADT, right? Staples Office Products. And we were basically their sales force. So I would hire my own salespeople and actually go and represent their brand. So we would go and we crushed it. Like we were the number one AT&T dealer we're talking about, when we say number one, like number 2 was nowhere near us, 300 sales reps in the field.
Wow.
We were doing $1 million a week.
Wow.
Right, in revenue. So it was a lot. Just crushing at 7 offices. So I was really great at teaching people how to build relationships, teach people how to not even just sell, but how to build rapport, how to answer questions, how to be influential, how to basically take care of the client. Did so well. A lot of the other offices were teaching people sales. I was teaching people how to take care of clients, how to actually serve them, how to answer the questions, how to not sell them, actually give them exactly what they want. And they kept buying more and more from our reps. And our average dollars per order was much higher than everybody else's because we taught people to basically take care of people, do what you would want done for you, right? So we'd walk into businesses and they would build these amazing rapport and actually sell people things that they wanted.
So how did you know that? Because most people are taught to sell, as you say, not to serve the client.
Sure.
So was that intuitive to you, or
it was.
Did you have?
It was.
You knew that
because I never did sales. So I was an engineer, right? So I used to go into manufacturing companies and literally go in there. So my specialty was to do 2 things, was to increase productivity and decrease costs, right? So companies would freak out because I would go into these companies and stand there for a whole day and watch the assembly line. and nobody would know other than the CEO. I'd go there with my clipboard, I'd take notes, I'd stand there. Who are you? I'm just gonna, Bill sent me, whatever, right? The CEO. And they'd call up to the CEO, be like, yeah, he's fine, he's there, right? So I'm taking notes and all this stuff. And literally the next day I would come in and rip out the whole assembly line, have a team come in, rip it out, do a whole makeover. Like basically my job is say, look, you are assembling something here, but yet you run every 15 minutes over there to get your parts. It doesn't make sense. Your parts needs to be here, increase productivity. Or I'd look at a fixture and say, why why would you have a fixture that you can just put one item in and solder it? Why don't we just build a bigger fixture, have somebody put 10 items on and then solder it, right? And it increased productivity. I used to do that all the time. So I was really good at like understanding like essentially, systems, right? Systems. So when I got into sales, I'm like, wow, I can create a systems around sales. So, when I first started sales, they were teaching me like, here's the pitch, right? Here's how you do this when you do that. And I'm like, wow, that's like really robotic systems. It's like, what about the system of like actually building relationships, actually being yourself, actually walking in and saying, look, I'm here to help, like be able to walk into a business and all of a sudden that secretary, that pitbull with lipstick on, right? That gatekeeper would be like, no soliciting, whatever. Like literally just like, I get that, ma'am. But if you guys want to save money on office supplies, like 40%, if no, that's cool. But if your boss wants to save 40%, we can do that for you. And that's really why I'm here. And I tell my reps not to be rude, just to say, it's all about results, right? It's all about results. So don't tell them who you are. Just tell them that you can actually do this. And that's the very first lead in is actually, because that's what people pay for is results. They're like, it makes sense. And then build a relationship. Look, you don't want me, no problem. I'm not pushing you. We'll leave. And then most of the people are like, well, I'm sorry, right? Because you don't know what the other person's feelings are, what they're going through that day, but just be nice to them and tell them that you can actually help them, really, truly help them, not even wanting to sell them anything if it makes sense to them. And that's why my reps never got really kicked out of buildings. They never got like the police called on them or anything like that. No security, because people are like, oh, you're really nice, because that's why I taught my guys. And I said, if I would want that done to me in my business, right? That's to have somebody walk through the doors and be like, I can actually truly help you, but I get it. If you don't want me here, no problem. We're not pushing you. We just wanted to stop by. This is what we actually do. And that's it. And then leave it to them. And then they'll be like, well, I'm sorry. Because you never know if something, whatever happened to them. So it was just a natural thing. And the cool part is I did it, right? So I didn't just teach my guys how to do it. I actually showed them how, right? And before I actually built my company, I went to the field first. Everything I did first. I believe that the best example of leadership is leadership by example.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. So every product one, every new contract we got, I was the first one in the field to test it, right? To build the sales process and the sales pitch and everything. And then my guys would get it. So that's it.
So you had the intuition I came much later. I had to learn all this stuff from people like Sys, right? Yeah. But it's been 18 years since that first company, built the line, did the funnels. Now you got 7 figures expert. What's changed in your mind, in your philosophy? Or is it just remained consistent?
It's remained consistent. True believer that it's leadership by example is the best way. So 7 figures expert was really created because I saw these patterns. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, if I see these patterns with other businesses, what if I launched myself? So I created a coaching program and I launched it. And guess what? It hit 7 figures, right? So I'm like, okay, so now I decided, okay, I'm going to launch my wife's business, her VA business. We use the same system that I did to launch my coaching business. She hit 7 figures. She hit $1.2 million in 9 months. So I said, okay, now I believe and I feel I am qualified, right, to teach other people how to actually launch, how to build it, take what they love doing, what they're great at, and put it into an offer, launch that offer, and essentially make money online. So I said, well, I did it. I did it for my wife as well. 2 companies in 1 year that generated over 2.5 million.
So same year you did this.
Both of us, yeah. Wow. So if I can do it, I can show you how. See, the most important part of this whole equation is that you get people to believe that they can actually do it.
Yeah.
Right. You can show them examples, show them, proof. Great. But because people ask 3 questions mainly. If they decide to buy something, or even nowadays with so many experts and gurus and so much noise out in the marketplace, even registering for a webinar, for example, right now, right? People still ask themselves 3 questions before they do. Does this work? Does it work for me? And is it easy? That's it. And if you can answer those 3 questions in your messaging, your copy, they'll register for your webinar. They'll show up. They'll buy your stuff, right? You'll have a high conversion because if you can do that. So there was tons of social proof that it worked, but then I had to still overcome the hurdle of, no, this will work for you too. And this is what we did. And it is easy. Let me show you in a method where I tell people, don't buy my stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to invite you to a 1-day immersion. I'm going to invite you to a 3-day boot camp for free. Let me show you how it's done, and then I'll make an offer for you. So I love adding value to people first and then making them an offer. So basically, when I launched my 7 figures expert, I launched it in a way where here's how I show people that they can actually do it. I said, because I did it, and I'm going to teach you in a step-by-step format. And the whole mindset was, if I wake up one day and I lost everything and I had to start all over, what would I do from start to finish? step by step. And that's basically how we teach people. That's it.
So if you lost everything, this is the formula you're going to go back to.
That's it. That's it. So it's not a bunch of information, not a bunch of frameworks and strategies. It's literally like I taught it and I created it in a way where if I woke up and I lost everything tomorrow and I had to launch all over again, these are the exact 7 steps I would take.
Now, for someone who's watching, where in the process of the business do they have to be? Like if they know they have an idea, but they haven't really done anything. Like, can you start at the beginning or do I have to have something running? That's
it. That's where they got to start. They have to have 2 things, 2 very important things. They got to be great at something and they got to love what they're doing. That's it. That's all we need. That's secret sauce. If they have those 2 things, then we can take them and basically teach them how to launch, how to put it into an offer, how to launch that offer, and how to make money online.
What if they love it, they're great at it, but are terrified of showing up and what might happen?
Yeah, so that is very important because then the reason why when we are able to show them a step by step, right? That's great because they can see, oh, wow, I can actually turn what I love and what I'm great at into this offer. And Sys also is able to show me how to actually launch that offer with this step by step, right? So one of the things that we did add was the mindset piece, right? Because even though we can share these step by step with you, we added a whole part. Pretty much on our very first day, it's literally all about mindset. It's all about having them get out of their own way. It's all about showing them that on November 15th of this year, we just hit 8 billion people. And your job is not to try to acquire everyone. Your job is not to market to everyone. Your job is not to sell everyone. Your job is to sell those who believe in your why. If your why is aligned, that's all you need. That's all you need. So after that, people realize, wow, I don't need to try to sell everybody. I don't need to, even if I feel like I'm an imposter syndrome, guess what? If that's how you feel, show up authentically and tell people that. I feel like, for example, I believe in this quote, authenticity doesn't guarantee success, but inauthenticity guarantees failure.
Wow, that's
right?
Huge.
So just show up as you. Even though it doesn't guarantee success, right? You're going to be successful. It doesn't guarantee it. But if you show up inauthentic, that guarantees failure for sure. Right? Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to attract those that feel like you, those that look like you, right? If you're an introvert, you're like, hey guys, honestly, my coach taught me how to do this webinar. He gave me this amazing framework. And I'll be honest with you, I'm scared to death because I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert, right? And then the person on the other line, maybe half of them are extrovert, be like, oh, I don't want to buy from this person. That's okay. But then the other half are like, man, I'm an introvert. I'm scared too. I want to show you how to do it with the same framework that I was taught. And it's really successful. And you don't have to show up as an extrovert. You can just be you. And that's what I'm going to show you here today. And guess what? The people that connect with you, like, oh my God, I'm going to buy from this person. You see what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Just show up authentic.
Are you the introvert or extrovert?
I'm an extrovert. I am an extrovert. I love talking. I love being on stage. But I wasn't always that way as well. I was an extrovert, but I did not feel like I was good enough. Right? I love talking to people. I'm never afraid to talk to people, outgoing, never. But when it came to information and knowledge and wisdom and teaching and training people, I always wanted to do it, but I was always fearful that I was not good enough.
So 2 more questions.
Yeah.
When did you discover, or maybe it's how, that you were good enough?
I started realizing that the only way that I can even myself overcome that is by doing first. So that's why I make it my point to actually lead by example always, to say, okay, even though I don't feel it, guess what? I did it, right? So I have proof. So that's how I overcame that. I just said, okay, then if I don't feel like I'm good enough, I better be good enough and then just show it.
How long did that take you from when you first realized? Because a lot of time we don't think we're good enough. We can't vocalize that, right? From the time you realized you weren't good enough, how long did that take you to feel, for you to be able to own your presence?
Well, I realized one thing. Since there's 8 billion people in the world, and everybody essentially is further than everybody, right? There's certain people further than you, right? And then you happen to be further than other people. So what does that tell you? If you got a result, even one result, even if you said, you're not an expert, let's say, in finances, but then you were able to save $1,000 this month. Guess what? There's a lot of people who can't save $1,000, and you just found out a way to do it. It makes you an expert at that. So teach that. Again, you're going to show up and tell the truth. Be like, guys, I was never good with money, you know what? And I just saved $1,000 this month, and I want to teach you how. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
The key here is the fact that people will show up as their authentic self and show that, hey, I got this result. And there's going to be people in the room be like, wow, I'm having a hard time saving $1,000. So I need to learn how to save $1,000. There's so many people that need the help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to put what you love and what you're great at, even saving $1,000 into a course, into a program, into an event and get it out there to the world, then what ends up happening is there's a lot of people who need help that are not getting it.
How do you define success for you?
For me, it's freedom, 100% freedom. And what do I mean by freedom? Well, everybody determines freedom differently, right? So for me, it's about going where I want, when I want, staying as long as I want, bringing as many people as I want. I am not a huge fan of my kids and us learning from a classroom. I am all about experiences. I'm all about, that's why we homeschool our children. That's why we travel 6 to 7 times a year, like literally travel time and being anywhere else other than home, because I believe in giving back. I believe in going to places and I use it as a history lesson. So let's say, for example, we're going to Vietnam on February 11th, for example. My kids are already part of their homework. We're going to Ho Chi Minh City. Let's find out, when was it established? What's the population? Why would we go there? You know, what are some things we can do? What is Ho Chi Minh about? What were wars that were fought there? All these things. So now they made it as part of their class, right? So they're already researching it. And then when we get there, what could we do to help? We do this every time, every trip we take. Kids, what can we do to help? What can we do for resources, with money, with our time? What do we want to do? And then my kids will come with a list. Hey, we should go to this school of the deaf, right? To spend some time with them, to teach them something, or to even give back, right? Here's some temples we can go visit. Here's some people who actually need, there's this program that builds villages for people who don't have housing, electricity. Let's go do some work there. We're actually going to spend like 6 hours at this place, right? To build, to do some manual labor, things like that. We're going to donate some money, even if it's a little bit, doesn't matter, but it's part of our life, right? And that's basically, for me, that's freedom. And one of the things I love about living my life this way, I live my life with one question. I answer one question from now on. After I realize that freedom is what I want to, how do I want to live my life? So everything that somebody asks me to do, or I'm thinking about doing, or a decision I need to make, this is how I make a decision now. I ask myself one question: does this contribute or contaminate my freedom? That's it. So for example, I had, last month, three people asked me if I could go into business with them, right? Because there's a part of my expertise with marketing and sales that they definitely need. So, and the money was amazing, but I declined them. Why? Because it contaminated my freedom. Does that make sense? I would have to be here.
Totally.
I couldn't visit. I couldn't travel the way I did. I couldn't take my kids, 3.5 years ago, we were thinking about putting our son to private school, right? One of the top private schools in Dallas. Couldn't do it because it contaminated our freedom. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
What a really powerful question to ask.
Yeah.
One question.
That's it.
Ask it every day.
Yeah. My wife wanted to start her VA business. We said, okay, does this contribute or contaminate our freedom? So essentially what it does is, does it take you further away or closer to how you want to live and who you want to be?
I'm so adding that question.
I love it.
I teach
everything I answer, everything from
that.
Everything I answer with that one question.
So powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. So amazing. Yeah.
Sys Savanh, 7 figures expert. How do they reach you?
Expertmadesimple.com, or actually do this, 7figuresmadesimple.com.
7figuresmadesimple.com.
If you go there, there's going to be a list of all of our trainings, right? Free trainings, some even low ticket stuff. If you just want to attend one of our free trainings, one of our 1 hours, 2 hours, one of our 3-day boot camps, sometimes we'll do a 3-day boot camp for free, right? Just click on it, register, come on, you'll learn a ton. It's just like any other company. We will make offers at our 1 hour, at our 2 hour, at our 4 hour, our 8 hour, and our 3-day boot camp. But guess what? We want to add value first before we even make an offer.
Yeah. And let me tell you guys, like Sys said before, there's a lot of noise out there. There are tons of people who.
Let me show it first.
Sys is the real deal.
Yeah.
I've seen his success, but more than that, I've seen people that have been to his boot camp.
Yes.
And I've seen what they've done.
Yeah.
And it's the real deal.
Yeah.
So Sys, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Sharing,
thank you very much. Love it. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys.
We're honored that you invested time with us today at the Mentor Studio. Now, don't be greedy. Share this knowledge bomb with all your dope peeps on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Actually, we'll even pay you to do it. To get the deets, please check out thementorstudio.com.